A lot can happen in the year when you're the world's largest family of apps that are primarily used to stalk people's exes. Here's everything toxic that Meta did in 2023. The year didn't start well for Facebook, with tracking without active user consent being made illegal in Europe, and only about 10 years too late. This has been Facebook's business model for all of its apps since the dawn of time, but privacy regulators' computers say no. And the cherry on top, Meta got fined €390 million for these privacy violations. But don't get too excited, because Meta is still going to try and get your data. They just now have to ask you nicely in their unreadable terms of service. Then Facebook and Instagram were told by their board of advisors to overturn the ban on bare breasts, which was corporate speak for our revenues are down, so we're going to do what every website does when it wants more attention: show boobs. As if this wasn't desperate enough attempt to get our attention back, they also let Trump back on the platform. Fail. Then Meta's ads came under fire, as they weren't showing the elderly and women the same housing ads as everyone else. Meta now claims that its ad targeting algorithm won't discriminate. How reassuring of them. Meta are pretending like this was their idea, when in reality they just settled with the US Department of Justice. By settling, they can say it was never proved their algorithm discriminated, but their new algorithm won't discriminate? This reminded me of the noughties when McDonald's put out an advert saying, our nuggets are now made with 100% chicken. And we all went, what were they made with before? And Ronald said, oh, look over there, there's a purple cow, and ran away. They allegedly, not allegedly, they did that. They actually did that. Sorry about that. Meta allegedly violated the Fair Housing Act. The Fair Housing Act forbids discrimination of anyone due to their sex, religion, colour, gender, disability, any reason. Speaking candidly, if I was one of the people that didn't see a credit card ad like this, I'd be thanking Meta. Ads like this just look like spam and they clog up your timeline. In February, we discovered that Facebook was deliberately draining users' phones' batteries, allegedly. A former Meta employee, George Hayward, spilled the tea about negative testing. Basically, Facebook and Messenger have the ability to drain your phone's battery on purpose. Apparently, this was all done in the name of testing new features within both apps. But as Hayward points out, harming a few to help the greater masses is not exactly a valid excuse. As the saying goes, when it comes to social media sites, with great power comes little to no responsibility. Incidentally, the trick to not letting Facebook drain your phone's battery is to uninstall the app and never use it again. Meta then tried to move into the subscription economy for both Facebook and Instagram, because this has worked so well with Twitter. Click here for the full video on this, but in short, get to fuck. Included in the subscription is a bunch of VR games and a custom avatar, so if you're not a fan of what you look like in real life, Zuckerberg has you covered. In March, Meta said it was going to block access to the news in Canada. Don't threaten me with a good time here, Zuck. Also, who's using Facebook for the news? It's for ill-informed political rants and misinformation. What's the Online News Act? Well, me and a hat, in short, the Online News Act, or C18, which I admit does sound like R2-D2's bit on the side, proposes amendments to several laws in Canada. Couldn't Meta just lobby to change the law? They could do, and they do spend billions lobbying each year. But the truth is that Meta and other social media sites will always see themselves as a platform, because it gets them off the hook when people share misinformation. Whereas we, the users, know that their algorithms curate feeds for us, which makes them more like publishers. So something does need to change, but that, kids, is a story for another video. Then a former Meta recruiter claims she was paid $190 a year to do nothing. If I was getting paid 200 grand to do nothing, I would have taken that secret to my grave, not bragged about it on TikTok. Unsurprisingly, she was fired shortly after. Online therapy website Cerebral accidentally spilt the beans on 3.1 million patients' mental health data to Google, Meta, and TikTok. To be fair, we've all done this, so don't be so quick to judge. How did it happen? Well, me in a slightly different hat, but it's hard to tell because I put you in black and white. Google, Meta, and other websites that use our data to make billions offer third-party websites a service. In the case of Google, this is known as Google Analytics, and in the case of Meta, it's called the Meta Pixel. Basically, it's a small bit of code that tracks your movements and actions on websites that Google and Meta don't own. How? Have you ever been browsing for a new hat online and then gone back to Facebook and found that exact hat was advertised to you? Yes. Actually, that's the Meta Pixel. On paper, it's like taking a shit in the woods in the middle of winter. Not ideal, but nobody was hurt. But on medical websites where you're filling out forms about your mental health, you might not want Zuckerberg and his team collecting that data. In April, and in You Don't Get the Hero You Want, but You Do Get the Hero You Deserve news, WhatsApp and Signal urged the UK government to rethink their flawed legislation. Which flawed legislation? I know, it's hard to pick which one. On paper, the UK's online safety bill could be a good thing. It aims to protect users online by holding social media companies accountable for their safety. However, in an open letter that was tweeted back in May and signed by 7 messenger companies, Signal basically said it could undermine encryption and user privacy. The UK government does say that it's possible to protect privacy and safety as well as give them access to your messages, but I don't think it is. In May, a content moderator in Kenya claimed filtering Facebook posts cost him his humanity, and as a result is taking legal action against Meta because of what he saw during his time in the job. I mean, on his first day, he saw someone unaliving themselves while a child watched, as well as other horrific things that I can't talk about here because I don't want to get deleted. He believes his experiences desensitized him to death and have impacted his humanity. Now, to be fair, I was scanning Facebook the other day for 5 minutes and it impacted my humanity, so God knows what this guy's gone through. Also, while we're on the subject, who the fuck is uploading that shit to Facebook? Hang on, does Jake Paul have a Facebook account? In palate cleansing news, Meta was fined a record 1.2 billion euros for breaching GDPR by moving European users' data to servers in America. Do you see why Americans might need GDPR? And to round off the month, cancer patients were being bombarded with dangerous miracle cures on Facebook. Sellers on alternative health groups were promoting unproven. Do I have to say unproven? I think for legal reasons I have to say unproven, but we all know that drinking your own piss is not going to solve your cancer problems. Now, to be fair, Facebook did respond and say that it would take action against groups sharing health misinformation. Although to be even fairer, the reported groups have yet to be taken down. I re-enabled my Facebook account and did a quick search and I could find the stuff. If I could find it, someone in a desperate situation looking for a way out of having cancer could definitely find it. In June, we learned that Meta has got a little bit more invasive by tracking our online Plan B or HIV test purchases. At this point, he might as well shove a camera up my ass and be done with it. And Meta threatened to pull the news from Facebook and Instagram in Canada. I am so fucking envious of Canada right now. To end the month, Zuckerberg admitted his fact checkers censored true information, but they're going to carry on doing it anyway. Zuck said that it undermines people's trust in the platforms. And Mark, if you're watching this, and I know you're a regular viewer, I have to ask, what trust in whose platform now? In July, Meta launched their Twitter rival, Threads, and simultaneously, every social media manager got a migraine. You either joined up and gained a massive following with very little effort, or you felt like that bit at the end of Fresh Prince, old and alone. But much like a kid at Christmas with a new toy that lost its buzz on Boxing Day, the engagement dropped off quickly and they shot themselves in the foot by blocking VPNs. Who'd have thought it? The company that makes billions from stealing and selling your data doesn't want you to give them incorrect data. The app couldn't launch in the EU as it broke too many parts of the GDPR laws, so people were using VPNs to sign up and see what all the fuss was about. This led to Elon rebranding Twitter X, to the confusion of millions of people with too many porn tabs open. Given everyone's reaction to the rebrand, a better name would have been Y. Elon's mum then celebrated, and we all got to see where he got his sense of humour from. I thought this video was about Meta. I know, me in a hat, or me in a shat, as I've written on the teleprompter. I'm getting to it. It turns out Meta already had the trademark for X for social media purposes, so we could be looking at a very weird lawsuit. My favourite response to all of this, incidentally, was from Sesame Street. In August, unwilling to pay news outlets, Meta stopped showing news articles in Canada, just in time for wildfires to create havoc across the country. Now we're in a weird game of chicken. Will Meta fold first like they did in Australia, or will the Canadian government reverse the new law so citizens can access vital information while their country burns to the ground? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. And by wait and see, I mean I'll tell you now because time has moved on. Hello, August Simon. This is December editing Simon. So the law passed, but the way that it passed means that it doesn't apply to Google, and Meta are still blocking the news. So Well done, Canada. Then Norway started fining Meta $100,000 a day for breaking GDPR laws, which sounds great until you think about it for a second, and then you realise that a better headline would be Norway sells the right to violate privacy to Facebook for $36.5 million a year. And finally, Facebook took down nearly 8,000 accounts linked to Chinese misinformation campaigns. Surely if Zuckerberg cared this much about misinformation, he'd just close down Facebook. In September, Meta looked to rehire some of the workers that they just laid off. No way! Some of those jobs were important after all. Well, spank my ass and call me Zuckerberg. First they overhired, now they overfired. Hopefully this time they'll get it just right, but if you need some assistance with this, I know some bears who can help. Then at Meta Connect 3, Mark cosplayed as a budget Steve Jobs to announce several new products, including a $500 VR headset, which mines biometric data off your face, a $300 pair of smart glasses, with a hidden camera that allows you to film people without them knowing, because this went so well with Google and Snapchat. And finally, Facebook changed their logo from this to this, in one of the hardest games to spot the difference ever. In October, Meta was given 30 days to stop using the name Threads by a company that trademarked it 11 years ago. I feel like they should rename it something catchy that nobody else is using, like Twitter. Instagram then said sorry for adding terrorists to some Palestinian users' profiles and shadow banning their posts. Now look, I know the whole Israel-Palestine thing is massive and I don't want to talk about it in this video about Meta, but what I do want to say is this is not a mistake. Coding something like this in a company of this size will take several levels of approval, so it should have more accountability than just saying sorry. Speaking of fun code, Facebook's new AI stickers can generate child soldiers and an Elmo with a knife. It also generated this busty Sonic the Hedgehog, which made me question a few things, a pregnant Shrek, which is cool, and a Mickey Mouse with a rifle, which, to be fair, is pretty fucking awesome. And finally, 41 states sued Meta, claiming Instagram and Facebook were addictive and harmful to kids. Oh, we were so close. That headline could have said, 41 states propose a ban or legislation on the use of social media for anyone under the age of 18, but there's no money in that, is there? In unrelated news, a study revealed that some teenagers receive 5,000 notifications a day. That's one every 17 seconds. I'd throw mine in a lake after the first 100. In November, we learned that Zuckerberg personally rejected Meta's proposal to improve the mental health of teenagers on Facebook and Instagram. Admit it, that was on your 2023 bingo card. In probably related news, Meta disbanded its responsible AI team. Long live the irresponsible AI team. In December, we learned that Meta is struggling to boot pedophiles off Facebook and Instagram. I mean, struggling does imply that they're trying. This awesome article by Casey Newton points out the differences between internet problems and platform problems. Basically, internet problems arise from the fact that we live in a world where evil exists, and that will inevitably make its way onto the internet. But platform problems are unique to a particular platform, and given how long Meta has known about this issue, we can assume that it's not a bug, but it's a feature. In probably unrelated news, Facebook is watching teens online as they prepare for college. I wanted just one easy month. Basically, the Meta Pixel is being used on a bunch of websites that kids use to prepare for college. Meta gets full access to all of their actions and data on that website. They shouldn't be tracking kids at all, but like, who gives a shit at this point? I'll do a full video on how the Meta Pixel works and why it's a problem if enough of you write, "Give me a Meta Pixel video, bitch," in the comments below. But TLDR, Facebook would monitor my bowel movements if they thought they could sell that data. And finally, without a hint of irony, TikTok, Snapchat, and Discord will testify before the US Senate on child safety. Well, our business model depends on unregulated tracking of everyone, including children. So we would go bankrupt if it was made safe. Won't somebody please think of our shareholders? £1,000 as we start 2024 with a bunch of think of the children proposed laws. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, subscribe, like, share, and my Patreon is linked below. Here's everything toxic that Amazon and Google did in 2023. Godspeed, I'll see you all next year.